Hi, Kathryn here with Circle Art Designs. Today on my work table, I will be working with a Hilde and Joe faceted glass bead mix they call Purple Iridescent. I believe I picked this up at Joanne Fabrics. So, the piece I'm working on is an infinity faceted necklace and earrings, and I've named this piece at Dusk. So let's turn our eyes to our work table. So as always, when we turn our eyes to the work table, we see this beautiful glass. It says, "Give thanks to the Lord." And the thing that I am thankful for today is the eclipse. Where I was, you could see the total eclipse. And it was amazing to see the power of nature and our solar system in all its glory. And the amazing thing was that just a teeny sliver of light still brought light to the earth. And then it was in complete darkness. And when that little sliver came back out, our yard began to light up and the birds began to sing again. It was glorious. And I just thank my Father for seeing that. In my lifetime, I finally saw it. That was amazing. Thank you, Father. What do you have to be thankful for today? Okay, let's turn our eyes to the mat. Okay, as I said, this is the Hilde and Joe Iridescent Purple Bead Mix, and it's from Joanne Fabrics. Now, in this mix, they don't tell you what it is, except they're all glass and they're beautiful beads, just gorgeous beads. So this is my best guess. It is 8mm iridescent brown faceted rondelles, your smoky blue purple iridescent faceted oval beads, a 3mm faceted purple AB flash round bead, a 4x3mm smoky blue and purple faceted butterflies. These are amazing. And I'm going to use everything that is in this mix. All right, this should give you a better look at what we're going to use in this mix. I'm going to start in the middle with those oval beads. I looked them up and found similar ones. They say they are a 15.5 by 11.5 oval glass faceted beads, and these are gorgeous. They look blue with a purple iridescent flash. They're gorgeous. Then up in the corner, that's chain that I got at, I believe I got it at Hobby Lobby, and it will be the chain I'm using for this. Any chain will work, whatever you have at hand or that you like. Okay, up from that, across from that, we have the 8mm smoky brown with an iridescent purple flash, faceted rondelles. Up from that are 3mm faceted purple AB, or they could be flash, but I think they're AB round beads. At the very top, I'm using my 2.5mm gold eye pins. And remember, this is my best guess. All right, let's get started. Okay, we're going to start out with those little 4.5 by 3.5mm faceted butterflies. I don't know if I said that in the other one, but we're going to start out with the 3mm round purple AB flash. Then we're going to put on one of those faceted butterflies, and then we are going to put on another one of the purple round faceted beads, 3mm. I'm sorry I keep it out of the shot for a little bit. This is because the smoke is in my way, those smoky rondelles, and I don't think about it. I don't know why I don't think about it, but I didn't. So when I lift it up to show it to the camera, my hand goes across those smokies, so I'm taking those out of the way right now. Now here I am showing you component 1, which is again a 3mm, the butterfly, and a 3mm. I am going to use all 5 of the butterflies that are in this mix. I don't show you 5 here, but when I went to put it together, I decided that my extra butterfly would be perfect as the center point of this infinity necklace. Now, once I have gotten all the beads on here, I'm going to move over to my loopers. When you're doing a looper, put your bead up against the side, mash the handles, and then it will make a little loop for you. I've never successfully got it to close. I know people do, but I always have to use my straight nose pliers to finish closing it. So let's see if I can show you a little better. All right. You put the bead up against the side and the end goes in a little hole. Then you're going to mash it down and it's straight. Once it's straight, you're going to push back on it just a little bit so that it's at an angle. And this will make a question mark. That question mark later will help you know where the center of your piece is. And you can get your loop over the center so it'll hang straight. Again, you mashed it. You move it back a little bit. Make sure, just like the garnets from the previous, that you are being very careful with these beautiful little 3mm beads, because if you catch them in those jaws, it'll pop them. And you don't want to do that. You want to be able to use all of them. All right, so we're using our straight nose pliers. I'm putting it in. I'm going to move it to the end towards the eye pin. Once it is touched the eye pin, then I'm going to bring it back, make sure it's straight, and then I have it. I'm going to do all of them, and that's what I have here. So one of the things that I was checking with my straight nose pliers was to make sure that I had the closure over the center of your component. It will hang lopsided if you don't get it centered. Please make sure you do that. All right, for second component number 2, it's going to be the smoky rondelles, those ovals, and another smoky rondelle. And I am going to use 6 of these. In fact, you come with 6. I used all 6. Smoky rondelle. Oh, do you see how that one's blue, but if you turn it the other way, it has more of a purple flash like the ones on the mat. It won't matter when your necklace is finished. It's going to be beautiful no matter how it decides to spin. Again, your second component is the rondelle, the oval, and the rondelle. Aren't those pretty? Can you see why I said that I named this Dusk? I think it is just like the sky when the sun begins to set. It's gorgeous. And I had sky on the brain because I did get to see that eclipse. I'm going to do the other 3 off camera. And there they are. All right. So now then, again with the loopers, remember, when you're using your loopers, put the bead all the way to the edge. If it will go in the hole, if you have enough left that it'll go in the hole, make sure that it goes in the hole and don't go past the edge. You will catch your bead and crack it. The other thing I wanted to remind you of as we're doing this looper is that make sure you hold the end of your eye pin so that you are in the same plane. You don't want one twisted across and one twisted up and down. If you do happen to get some like that, take 2 chain nose pliers, holding one steady, twist to move your loops into the same plane. Now, just like we did with the butterflies, we're going to use our straight nose pliers, bend it to touch the, this one came off whenever I straightened it out, but you bend it to touch the eye pin, then you bend it back a little bit so you don't lose your question mark. And then if you need to, you can straighten it with your chain nose pliers and make sure that it is sitting straight and that it is in the center of your component. You want it to hang straight. You don't want it to hang crooked. Now you see how far that one bent over? Now I'm going to straighten it up, and it just stayed right exactly where it needed to be. Again, bend it over. It went quite far, but with those I straightened it up. It came a little bit away. I'm going to make sure it's closed with my curved chain nose pliers. And then I'm going to make sure that the next one again is touching. I'm going to straighten it with the chain nose pliers and make sure it's all in the same plane and they are all closed. Now our third component is going to be the purple 3mm faceted bead, the rondelle, that smoky purple rondelle, and then another one of the beads. And although I am only showing you 6 here, I end up using all of them in this component that I had in the mix, except for 4 of the 3mm and 2 of the rondelle that I put aside for the earrings. So there was nothing wasted in this mix. Well, it's not really wasted if you don't use it, because you always can put it in something else. I have wonderful beads in my stash, and I pull from them all the time. All right, so now, again, exactly what we were doing before. We're going to make sure that they're straight, they're closed, and they're in the same plane. And I'll do that off camera. In fact, I did do that off camera because here we are with my bead mat. Now, at first, I wanted to make sure this was at least 14 inches on one side, and that's starting with the center as 0. I ended up doing 17 inches on each side because I wanted a long chain. I'm using the bead board to set it up just like this, and when you see my messy disc, please don't judge me. I have lots of projects. So I started off with component 3, component 2, component 3, component 1, component 2, component 3, component 1. I know that was fast, but I have some pictures to show you in just a moment. So now I'm going to go ahead and move them all over on the side because I'm going to be cutting little pieces of chain, and I want to make sure that I don't go past the 17 inches on each side. So I'm going to move it over, and I'll take pictures and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. And while I am finishing setting up this board, would you please like and leave a comment for this video? And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe and help us grow. It would mean a lot to us. And if you subscribe, you get notifications when we put up new content. Thank you so much. So on the first side, we're going to have component 3, which was the one with the rondelle and the small 3mm. Then we're going to have component 2, which is the one we made with the ovals. Then another component 3, which is the rondelle. And then a component 1. Then after component 1, we're going to go again with component 2, which has the oval. We're going to have component 3, which has the rondelle. And then component 1, which is the butterfly again. And that takes us to number 4 on this bead, the bead mat, and we'll go to the next one. Now picking up with the number 4, we've just done component 1 when you lay it out. Then you're going to put component 2, and now that takes us to the center of the necklace. And we're going to add that number 5 of the butterflies, and that will be the very center of your necklace, and that is component 1. Then we're going to start over with component 2, which is the oval, because at the other side of the necklace at number 2, we used component 2. And so we're going to just repeat that. So here's a better picture. You have a oval on 2 and an oval around the 2 where I've laid it out here. And our last picture on the other side, we're picking up with that oval that we just put at the 2, and we're going back up with a component 1, which is the butterfly, a component 3, which is the rondelle, a component 2, which is the oval, a component 1, which is the butterfly, a component 3, which is the rondelle, a component 2, which is the oval, ending with another component 3. And that is the setup for this necklace. And now we're ready to cut all our little pieces to join this together. So for my pieces, I am going to count out 8, lay it on the mat, and clip it. And so I'm clipping in the 9th ring. So one more time, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I lost it again. And there you have it. So it will be 8 and then clip on the 9th. And I believe that you are going to need 17 of these teeny tiny little pieces. And I am not going to make you watch me count out that many. But once you've got your necklace laid out, if you will just cut all these pieces first, then we can join them together. Just a reminder on these chain sections. Oh, look at that. I picked up the wrong tool. Brain lapse. Sorry about, do y'all ever have brain lapses where you just pick up the wrong thing and I'm like, oh, I'm going to cut this. I have checked this chain, and the chain that I am using is not stainless steel. It's a lovely chain. It holds up well. It's not stainless steel. It's probably gold, either plated. It doesn't tell you. So I'm thinking maybe gold tone. You're going to need 17 of these at 8 links, and that will give you half an inch. That's what my little note was. But anyway, make sure if it's stainless steel, you use cutters that you don't mind being chewed up. I have not found any cutters that stainless steel doesn't chew up. So save your good ones. All right, now here I have got my 17 right there. I did that off camera because, like I said, who wants to see paint dry? And I've got them all ready. And now I'm going to put them in their little pile and pull out my beadboard. And then I will be ready to start this. Now, I am using the 4-0, which is the smallest of my jump rings. I'll be using a chain nose plier and a curved nose plier because I find it easier to work with. I'm sorry, man, I have allergies today. I went outside for coffee and morning prayer, and I came back in and my nose is running like crazy. But we will carry on. So I opened up the jump ring, and I will explain that again in a minute. You're going to have lots of practice with this type of necklace. Always open your jump ring, put your chain on first. Then after checking your component to make sure the end is closed, go ahead and twist with one wrist. That jump ring, feel with your finger to make sure there's no rough edges, because if there are rough edges, that is not closed. And there you have it. Now, if you haven't watched before, you might say, well, why can't I just pull it open or twist it on both ends? Well, jump rings are metal. Like clay, if you've ever worked with clay, has a memory. And even if you straighten it up and use it, at some point, if you have abused that jump ring by yanking it open or twisting it too far, it will remember and it will let go, and it will go back to the last memory of how wide it was open. And then you lose your necklace, and it's sad. And I had to learn that the hard way. So again, it's a twist of one wrist. Hold it between two chain nose or a chain nose and a curved nose. Twist one wrist slightly, just enough to get it open. Then go ahead, put your chain on and then your component, even if the component is already on a chain. Make sure you do the same steps in the same order over and over again. And that quick look of all you got, I'm so sorry, was what this is going to look like. If you want to back that up and stop, that is what we're doing. So now I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to open up this jump ring. I'm going to twist one side, and see, I'm not opening it very far. Then I'm going to put on the chain. Then I'm going to pick up the chain I'm making, put it on, and then close with the same twist, just like that, until it's closed. I'm going to feel it, make sure it's no jagged edges. Why? Remember I said, if you feel jagged edges, that thing is not closed. And the thing that about this is, it can look closed, but a lot of times the jump rings we get are they go slightly under each other as opposed to touching. And you want your jump ring to touch. So sometimes twisting it and closing it is not enough. Sometimes you have to lift one edge up till it fits perfectly against the other edge to make that jump ring really secure. So I can't stress enough how jump rings look like a little thing, but I can't stress enough how important, if you're using jump rings, it is to the life of your piece to make sure you don't mistreat them and you get them securely closed where it is a solid feel to your closed jump ring. It's not enough to just look closed and have that jagged edge sticking up. For one thing, you don't want that because you don't want it to ruin your clothes. But for the other thing, that little jag is what's going to catch and eventually open, and you're going to lose your piece of jewelry that you've worked so hard on. And you know, the things we make are so much more beautiful than the standard things you can just buy in a box store. And so you've put your time, your effort, your creativity into it. And even if you're giving it as a gift or if you're selling it, you want this to last for the person that is receiving it. So here we go again. The jump ring closing with a twist. Then I catch it. I feel it to make sure that it's closed. Looking to make sure, because I forgot to check this one, and look at that. It had just the ever tiniest little opening. So I'm closing that. So there's a few steps that you want to do. Even when you get to this part, you want to make sure that your little components, especially those little butterfly components, are closed, and that your jump rings are closed. And when you make sure of that, as long as you don't mistreat your necklace. I have a friend, and I will not name names, they like to tug on their necklaces. And that's okay if you have a necklace that has been soldered together, but very few necklaces are soldered together. And eventually the strain of yanking on it will pull it apart. But if you take these steps, it will last longer. And if you're gentle with your pieces, it will really last and should never come apart as long as you check all your steps. And that's what I'm doing right here. My jump ring, I'm not happy with it. It still has a little jagged thing, and I'm going, okay, I can't see it, but I finally got it to where I couldn't feel it. If I can't feel it, I know it's okay. So this is what that looks like. Isn't that lovely? I have component 3, component 2, component 3, component 1, component 2, just like I put it in earlier in the video. And so now I'm going to finish this out all the way to 0 and then catch back up. So we have finished with component 2. The next one for this will be component 3. I'm going to open that jump ring, just like that. I'm going to put on the chain. It should become habit to always put it in the same order. But you say, well, does it always matter? No, not really. But what happens is when it really does matter, you forget. And then you get your piece finished and you've got pieces that hang wrong because the chain is in the wrong area or the component's in the wrong area. Or, I mean, there's just any number of things that can go wrong. And trust me, I have done them all. So several years ago, I decided I was always going to try to put it on in that order, just like that. So that was our component 3. Next will come a component 2. And we're almost around. I'm at the number 4. We're headed for the 0. When we get to the 0 and I show you how we're going to do the center of the necklace, then I'll go ahead and do the other part off of camera so that you don't have to watch. Open the jump ring, put the chain on, put your component on, close it up. And that's always it. Open the jump ring, put your chain on, put your component on, close it up. Now, when you're doing components like this, when you get to the part that already has the jump ring and you're just adding a component, then you're still going to put the chain on first, even though the chain is already on the necklace. Chain on first, then component. Chain on first, and then component. But you know, if you would prefer to put component on first and then chain, as long as it doesn't matter how it lays, then you can do that. But I've always found, for me, it works. Chain on first and then component. Do I sound like a teacher? I get in teacher mode. For those of you who don't know, I homeschooled 3 of the 5 children that lived in my house. And one of them was my granddaughter. And so I have to be careful because I end up going, oh yeah, wait a minute. This is not homeschool. I don't have to homeschool. But I do love teaching and I love sharing. So now we have gotten down to the middle of this necklace. I've hit the 0. And if you will notice, I checked the ends on both of them because I am so close to what I am doing. To the middle of this. So the other thing that was such a good, back it up and look at this jump ring. It is one of those jump rings that go under the other side, and I'm going to have to pull it up. And that was what I'm doing is I'm pulling it up so that it will actually touch the right way. All right, so I've got that butterfly. All my butterflies are flying up the board. But when I get to the center after this component 2, my butterflies are going to switch directions and they're going to fly up the board on the other side. This is my own preference, and it makes me crazy if you get to the center of your necklace and you go, wait a minute, everybody on the other side are going backwards. But it's a look, and people do it, and they love it, and they don't even think about it. But I I always, when I get to whatever is supposed to be the center, and I'm setting it 0. So this is that 5th butterfly I said you were going to need. Butterflies on the left are flying up the board. In the middle, at 0, it's going to change, and the butterflies are going to be flying up the board on the other side. And this is the center of this necklace. Now, once I get this on, then what I will do, starting on with the component 2, I will mirror what is on the other side and finish this up. I love this necklace, and it's just going to be an over the head necklace. It is a long necklace, and I think it's beautiful. If I had had a dangle that I really liked to go on this, I would have put a dangle here instead of the butterfly. But with the butterfly and the consistency of the infinity necklace, you can add this long necklace with anything else. And so there we go. I'm showing you my butterfly is going to go up the other side, and I'm going to do the other side of this necklace, and I will meet you in a minute. Okay, and I have the necklace finished. It did stop at 17 on both sides, and I'm going to use the last of the 17 little chains to join this together. I had to put it out so that you could see, zoom out so you could see what I was doing at the finished product. But it's just a matter of opening your jump ring and adding the little chain, and I'm then going to add one side just like that of the chain and close it up. And remember, I'm still doing the jump ring chain component, and that's always the way at least I can't say always, I am not a perfect human being, but I try to always do that. And as far as the desk is concerned, please extend me grace on this desk, because I have got stuff packed on this desk. I just don't have enough room to put it anyplace else. And so it is messy. And so I have put the component from the other side on that chain, and that is going to finish up this necklace. Let me get this space cleaned off a little bit so I can turn it and show you what I am doing. All right, so let's put it in. I want to make sure it's exactly. Now, my board says that it is 17 on both sides, plus the 1/2 inch to join it together. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. But when I measured this, it only came out at 30 inches. So what I'll do before I put it up in the shop is go ahead and take my sewing tape measure, and I'll measure it with that. All right, now then, once I finish fiddling with this, and I do have videos up at the back of the finished products. I will, but let's go on to the earrings. Now for the earrings, because this was getting long, I did not film it, but I took a picture, a diagram, and I want to explain to you what I did. So let's look at this. These are simple little dangles. For the dangle, I use a multiple of 6 times 3. So starting at 1 and counting down 6, I put on a component 1. Then I counted down 3 and put on a component 2. And then I counted 3 more and put on a component 1. That way I have 6 at the top on both sides of this chain, making this an 18 link chain. Now, if you're using a chain that you only had to put maybe 5, then you're going to divide that out, find your middle, and then spread out from the middle. Or maybe you had a component where you did 21 links between each one because they were smaller links, or you wanted more length in your necklace. Whatever you did, however many links you used, multiply it by 3, and that's the chain you will cut. Then you're going to go down the number of your links and put on component 1. Half of your link, put on component 2. Half of your links for a little section and put on component 3. And then at the end of it, you should have the same amount of links on both sides. Now, when you get the links on, you're going to take both ends of your chain, meet them together, and put them on a jump ring, and then put them on your ear wires. So this makes a loop with dangles that hang from the bottom. Now, I want to correct myself earlier. I remembered that I was one short of the 3 millimeter. Oh my goodness, that's my little dog. Are you dying out there? Hang on just a minute. So to make component 1, if you're going to use a looper, excuse me. Oh, and that was a backward sneeze of the little dog. That's my grand dog. My dog is being a good boy in the chair. My grand dog wants attention. I got left the grand dog this morning. But anyway, so if you're going to use your looper, then you don't have to use anything bigger than about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in your head pin, and these will be put on a head pin. Now, I always like to put something at the bottom of a head pin to start it off, even if it has a beautiful little circle. And the reason I do that is because sometimes if you're working along with these beads and you put it on and the hole is just slightly bigger and it falls right through. So I always put on something else. But if you're going to, and that's if you're using a looper, but if you want to use a turn down loop, then I would suggest your 24 gauge 1 inch to 1 1/4 inch head pins. They're easy to turn down. They make beautiful loops, and that's what I did. Now, before my dog had issues, the thing I was going to say was, well, I forgot that when I went to make the earrings, I had been 1 3 millimeter bead short to make these earrings. So what I did was I matched the shape and the color out of my stash as close as I could come. And, you know, if you're not really looking at the earrings for this difference, you won't tell. You won't be able to tell. But if you want to leave out the 3 millimeter bead, just having the smoky rondelle at the bottom is enough, because you're using the same chain, to tie these earrings in to the Dusk Infinity necklace. All right, with that said, for component 1, what I did was I started out with a 11/0 seed bead. I hope I said 11/0. I might have said 8/0, but it's an 11/0. That's what I used. I remember. I put on the 11/0 because if you're using the bigger gauge head pin, you're going to need an 8/0. But I put on an 11/0 because I'm using the 24 gauge. So I put on 11/0 seed bead. Then I put on my barrel bead in a beautiful iridescent purple. And then I put on another seed bead. So remember, if you're doing if you're using your looper and doing the larger gauge, use 8/0s. If you're doing the 24 gauge and going to turn down a loop, then go ahead and use your 11/0s because they have a smaller hole and they won't go right through the bottom of this head pin. Okay, once I get the component on my head pin, if you're using a looper, do it just like all the other loopers we've done. But if you're turning it down with your straight nose pliers, hold the very tip with nothing extended over the top of your head pin with your straight nose pliers. And then with teeny tiny little turns, you're going to coil that thing up just like a spring until it touches tightly up against the bead. And that's all there is to it. For component 2, and this is with the smoky rondelle, I did the same thing. I started out with an 11/0 because I'm using the 24 gauge. Then I put on the rondelle, and then I used another 11/0. And I turned it down. When I'm doing dangles that are going to hang off of the ear and I'm using these teeny tiny little gauges, I have found if I use a looper, it will break. It won't hold because it's just too soft a wire. But when I've tried to wrap it, it is also such a soft wire that it is easily distorted. But when I turn down the loops on this little 24 gauge, it will hold. It's not distorted, and it has at least 2, sometimes 3 or 4, depending on the size, the length of the wire I use to hold this in place on your jump ring. And then going to the step I've already talked about, you're going to just add them, bring your ends together, put another jump ring, and put it on your ear wires. If you want this demonstrated, I have several videos up on my channel that I am using these turn down loops, and they're just really easy to do. I love them. It's the first one I ever had success with without a looper. All right. So you remember show and tell when you were in school? Well, this is show and enjoy. This is the finished necklace, the infinity necklace. Isn't that gorgeous? And it really does look like Dusk to me, and I think it is beautiful. With those blues and the browns and purples, this will be a perfect necklace to pair with any of your drop necklaces or your simple necklaces. It is just gorgeous, and it is so pretty and so sparkly that you will be able to wear it all by itself, and that's how I would wear it. Then let's see if we can see the other one. Isn't that lovely? And this is kind of what it looks like up against the skin. Although this is so long, if you could wear it up against the skin, you would probably be naked on the top. Isn't that lovely? I just love it. It is so pretty. And those butterflies in flight are just amazing. So this shows you the good shot of when it turns to the blue and when it turns to the purple. And, don't stress over it because it's gorgeous. These are the finished earrings, and the drops on the bottom, they're just beautiful. They're really beautiful. And it just matches with what we have done so well. And when I put this up in the shop, I will put it up as a set. I will also put pictures of this at the back of this video. And this is the completed set. See what I mean? The purple goes so well with these earrings that it really looks like it matches the Dusk necklace, infinity necklace. And the swing on these earrings are amazing. And here are the finished pictures. Thank you so much for joining me today on this beading adventure. I had a great time. I love doing infinity necklaces, but I usually don't put this many components in one. But whenever I saw this bead mix, I thought it just cried out, use us all. Don't leave one of us out. And it is gorgeous. It will be up in the shop at circleartdesigns.net. Sorry, it's the allergies. God bless you, and I will see you next week. Kathryn, circleartdesigns.net.